Good evening and welcome back to the shop. So I had to do some work on my bench here, and I figured it'd be a good time to kind of show it off and give you a little bench tour. Everybody does shop tours, but my shop is not in a position right now to give a good tour in. But I think my bench right now is. So I'd like to just kind of show this off. This is my workbench assembly table, outfeed table, whatever way you want to call it. But we'll talk a little bit about it, kind of go over a couple things that I've done to modify and some things I plan on doing. Stay tuned and thanks for watching. Okay, first off, this bench design, I give full credit to over at Fix This, Build That. And this plant here was some of his free plants from his workbench. I modified it to my liking, a little bit different dimensions and a couple of different designs. But this is the basic workbench that he has there. And the dimensions for this particular bench, or my bench that's worked out well for me, is 40 inches wide across, where it's worked well. I can still reach the other side fairly easy. And standard is 60 inches or about 5 feet full length of the bench, which is a good size for what I need for my small shop space. I did some modifications. Original plans for this bench called for a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood down at the bottom, and it was open all the way through with a 3/4 inch plywood on top. I left the 3/4, and then I put also this, I guess it's an 1/8 inch backer board material as more of a sacrificial surface that I can take on and off as I mess it up, which I need to replace it eventually. But that just keeps some damage from the actual working surface, so I'm not having to replace an entire 3/4 inch sheet of plywood. Some of the modifications that I did to this workbench, because this is my primary work area and work surface, I try to keep all the tools that I use at this bench readily available here. So I've built 2 banks of drawers here that holds all my basic tools, and then these small storage cubbies here keeps all my hardware that I typically use on a daily basis. Like this bin here, it's larger DeWalt bin. This holds a lot of my pocket holes and basic screws, other accessory screws, all the way down to some household picture hanging hardware that I seem to reach for a lot. But that's all here. These are the Harbor Freight brand storage compartments. As we get over to the drawers, we'll kind of start on the first bank of drawers here. This very top drawer, this is where I keep all my measuring and layout tools that I reach for 90% of the time. I have these small cigar boxes that I keep a lot of loose stuff in. Works out really well, and it looks really nice. The second drawer down is more layout marking tools, mostly layout tools I don't use that often, but do occasionally reach for. This is all my tools, my screwdrivers, my pliers, hammers that I use predominantly at the bench, and I use 90% of the time. The rest of my tools are stored in my toolbox over there if I need something extra, sockets or whatnot. I keep my drills and drivers and accessories in this drawer all together in one place. This used to be up on the wall in a kind of a drill driver cabinet, but I just took it down and put it right here so it's easily available. And then at the very bottom is my sander and my sandpaper. So I've got measuring, layout, marking, assembly, and then sanding, finishing at the bottom. So essentially you could build an entire project just from this bank of drawers. In the middle bank of drawers, the top drawer is the most important. Top center keeps all my safety equipment, safety glasses, dust respirators, masks, and whatnot. Second drawer, I keep chisels and stuff, more hand tool stuff. I do have all these silicone protective guards. They will eventually go in a dedicated hand tool cabinet up on the wall when I get that project around. The next two drawers is all just finishing accessories. I've got things like gloves and these little bench cookies, stuff like that. And in the bottom drawer is more of a junk drawer. I keep my nail guns, my jigsaws, things that I use at the bench but don't use as often. And that's really it for what's encompassing here in the drawers. I have a small, kind of useless carpenter's vise. It doesn't work well for what I need it for, but it works well in a pinch when I do need a vise for something. We'll get an upgrade. I've actually got a Moxon vise kit that I'm going to build, and that'll be my primary vise. One of the modifications that's helped me out the most was this on the end. So I got these, these little locking brackets that are made for grills, and they lock out, and I could put another sheet of plywood here. So now this gives me 7 feet full length to work surface if I needed. I'm making a big project. And also this comes in handy because typically this workbench is sitting this way with my table saw between me and the wall. Excuse me. And I have a DeWalt contractor saw, which has these angled legs that really stick out, so they don't sit flush up against the table. So this fills that gap. So if I'm cutting in offcuts, they don't fall in that gap. They can come right off onto the surface and then right on across to the table. So that has been probably the biggest upgrade to this workbench that I made that's been the most useful, besides obviously adding the drawers. But it sits on 3.5-inch casters, which work out really well. So when this is not in use, I can just flip it down, lock it back out of the way. It's typically the way it stays. But these casters work really well, locking casters. Even as heavy and loaded down as this workbench is, it spins around fairly easily, less when it wants to hang up in a crack. But that's really very smooth spinning. And then this is the back side of the cabinet, or back side of the workbench. So this is an open concept. It's kind of a work in progress. I've got some plans and ideas to do here. I want to put doors on here to enclose this area. I really have this thing about dust collecting all my stuff. It's kind of weird. I know I'm a woodworker. That shouldn't be a problem, but it is. Called OCD. Anyway, I digress. I want to get my planer, keep my planer down here. I saw some plans online. They're able to pull this planer out and bring it up to keep it flush with the tabletop. And then I can just kind of fold it back down underneath, which I think will come in very handy, besides me trying to manhandle this planer out and up onto the bench top. I also have my Bosch router table that's just kind of stored down here. Same concept. I got to pick it up, put it on top. Eventually, maybe, still debating, I'm thinking about mounting it permanently into the tabletop here of the bench. So give me a excuse me, permanent mounted spot for the router table. But that's still a ways off, and that's still debating on that. But anyway, that's really my workbench. Hope you guys enjoyed the tour. Maybe got some inspiration. Thanks for watching.